In Australia, coming from India at a time when I was the only brown person in school. Yeah, the kind of Australian people have a very sarcastic, very humorous personality, so I had to be quick, sharp to keep up with them.
And how do you create, and what's the construction of a joke?
But I think the more you analyze a joke, it actually defeats the purpose of comedy. The people that love you will love you, the people that hate you will hate you, and the people that hate you are not the people you want anyway. Tonality, deeper the tonality, harder. If I'm coming to you like this, oh, bit confronting.
Doing street interviews and versus doing comedy. So what's your style of comedy, and what are the parallels between these two styles of work?
Similar, like my street comedy, when it's not a very heartfelt, wholesome conversation, is very similar to what you would see in a comedy show.
Do you think AI will take your job as a stand-up comedian? Welcome, Jasky. How are you?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to be sitting in the Australian version of the White House. This is incredible. I feel like I'm a government official in this setting. It's very contrasting, but I love it. Thank you so much for having me here.
Well, thank you for your time, and it's a different setting, but a bit more. I wanted to have a bit more deep dive with you and then see what's behind the idea of Mr. Sikkant or Sikkant.
Yeah.
To start with, can you tell me a bit more about yourself and your story, and how have you landed from just Hirat to Sikkant?
Yeah, I'll try and summarize it as quickly as I can. It can go and turn into a pretty long story. But essentially born in India with a Punjabi family, Sikh, like yourself, and moved here and kind of just realized that, you know, the way to connect with people, if we're just talking about the Sikkant channel side, is the way to connect with people, way to disarm people. When I was in in Australia, coming from India at a time when I was the only brown person in school, not even the only Sikh, because I used to wear a pug and had a dadi, but a beard and turban in English. And to be the outsider, I felt like the only way to connect was to tell jokes, and jokes at the expense of each other. Because I think what people forget in this very, I'm not going to use the word polarized, but very like somewhat sensitive environment, is that people think that the nicer you are to someone and navigating landmines, it actually develops a connection. And I've never felt that. I feel like the closest connections you develop with people are people you can actually completely annihilate as a roast, as a joke, and they can do it vice versa. And that's how you know you deeply love each other, because all those words don't mean anything. That's just you having fun. And I'm talking about guys, maybe with a guy and a male and a female, a little bit different. You can't roast the absolute daylights out of a female. Sometimes if you have the relationship, you can. So anyway, so I started knowing that was the way to kind of merge into the Australian, the kind of Australian people have a very sarcastic, very humorous personality, so I had to be quick, sharp to keep up with them. Language was a little bit different. I wasn't as fluent in English when I moved here, and first language was Punjabi, and then Hindi as the second, third language essentially. So anyway, so over time, comedy became the way to deal with tough situations, deal with uncomfortable situations, develop connections, and disarm tension. There is no better way to disarm tension than a joke in a professional meeting, in a public speaking environment, in this sort of setting. If I came in here and just talked to you like a robot, Dave, it's a pleasure to meet you. We've had a great day, and da-da-da-da. You'd be like, oof, this guy's pretty rough and boring. You go, oh man, what a great setup. I feel like I'm in the White House. Automatically we reduce the tension a little bit. So it's become like a method of coping with tense situations and just developing relationships. And then over the years, it's always been a thing, doing some level of comedy. And then the street interviews have just kind of taken off, where most people know me from that. But I've also done all of that on a business side, business first. And then this came as a hobby, which has now become a thing on its own. So that's the quickest summary I can give you over a 20, 30 year period.
The art of writing a joke, when you first get a joke, you trial and test at different formats and structures. And then joke is, for me, is when it makes half of the room cringe and half of the room laugh. So they're holding to clap, but they don't want to clap. So how do you define and how do you create, and what's the construction of a joke?
To be honest, I think analyzing, I've done it, so it's a very good question, but I think the more you analyze a joke, it actually defeats the purpose of comedy, because it's not a scientific process. It's not a, algebraic equation where you go X, Y, and Z makes joke. There is obviously formats, setup, punchline, add tension, all that kind of stuff. But some of the best jokes are, you can't describe how that joke has come about. Mm-hmm. You don't know. You observe something, you see something, you're talking to someone, and you think of something unique, or you position a little bit of tension in the conversation, or you say something you're not supposed to say. It's very hard to, and that's why over the many years, you'll see there are many books on joke writing, and they're all shit. Like, they don't mean anything until you, it's like you keep training as a runner, and then someone goes, teach me, how do you run really well? It's very hard to explain that. You can go, okay, better have a perfect gait, have long steps. You can say all of those things, but it's like, you've just got to keep doing it until it becomes intuitive. And then you know what's appropriate for what environment, because you've crossed the line so many times that you know where you should be sitting. And I like that you say you got to polarize a room, because a lot of people are very afraid of doing that. And that's not only in comedy, that's also in conversations in this sort of format of podcasting. If you have no opinion, if you have no statements or beliefs of yourself in that are the honest beliefs, then you're just kind of saying enough to pander to an audience, and then no one gives a shit. Whereas if you say something you truly believe, the people that love you will love you, the people that hate you will hate you, and the people that hate you are not the people you want anyway, right? So I haven't answered your question, but I just think you can't break down a joke. It takes away the magic, and I don't see anyone that's done it effectively.
When when you're talking about you have to push the audience to a limit and then test the joke and the limits, and if you have to pander to everybody, if you want to create change, you have to be different, and you have to be pushing the limits. And that's when change happens. If everybody's happy from your joke, nothing would change, and they won't laugh eventually.
Correct.
And how have you used the skill of being funny in other roles of your life? When you were doing sales and in marketing. So how does funny works in an environment when you are a business development manager or a sales manager?
Amazing question, and I think it's one of the most powerful weapons that a lot of people don't have in their arsenal, because they've never really had to. Okay, one, they're fearful of using comedy in a professional setting. Okay, it is difficult because you say some, I don't know, politically incorrect, inflammatory thing that clients are never going to talk to you in your life, and they haven't had the safe space of testing what works and knowing the cadence of making a joke. But since I started doing stand-up, which is now many years ago, before I had kids, so let's say 5-6 years I stopped. I was doing it for 4 or 5 years prior. So maybe 7-8 years I've been doing comedy to some extent. And prior to that, I had done sales with businesses, which is now private equity portfolio of several businesses, which was purely done through essentially sales, being learning and being good at sales and opening opportunities and blah, blah, blah. Since I started doing comedy, I didn't realize how powerful that is to develop rapport very quickly. And being a little bit different in those, because essentially, look, I'll go back a bit. If you're going into a meeting, what are you trying to achieve? If you're selling something, you're trying to go, I'm likable, I am someone, obviously credibility, having a power to make the difference you want, and having some level of status or speciality is all important, right? We all know that. But what is the X factor? It is being someone you like. We work with people we like. We work with people like us. We work with people that if they call us, we want to answer the phone. There are many salespeople, when their name comes up on my phone, I want to throw that phone in the bin, right? So how do you become that person? There are many ways, but I think humor is one of the most underrated ways of quickly developing rapport relationship, breaking the ice, making that person feel comfortable. You can be a little bit self-deprecating, have jokes. And that has just taken sales, which is all the usual, functional methods of sales, to another level, because now you have humor that can disarm anyone, really. But you've got to know when to make the right joke.
And do you think, what about being funny and being a politician? How does those two words live together? Can they live together?
Look, I'm not a politician. One of my close friends and business partners for many years is now running for mayor of Perth. Mm. And, he always asks the same sort of question. And I don't know, politics is a weird place, man. I don't know anything about it. I don't know, what's okay and what's not. What can you say? I just know that a person that has a sense of humor is generally liked by the majority. Mm-hmm. Person that's robotic, boring, talks like a politician, makes you want to vomit and they don't do anything for you. Mm-hmm. They're not a person. What person has no sense of humor? In my life, those people I can't really be friends with. If you weren't funny, I'd be like, what a boring person. I don't really want to have any affiliation with this person. Mm-hmm. And as a politician, what are you trying to do? You're trying to be likable. You've obviously got to have all the other stuff we've talked about, expertise and policies and blah, blah, blah. But it's the same thing. You're trying to be likable.
So your prejudice to judge people is funny?
No,
that's what the lens you use. If you have the person is funny, then you have friends. If he's not funny or she is not funny, you are not friends.
That might be a personal thing. I don't judge them based on their humor. No. I'm not going to judge a plumber if he's funny.
No.
Right? I judge a plumber because he can fix the problem, right? Yeah. But what I'm saying is if I want to feel someone is real, there has to be a level of sense of humor. How do we, over many years, we've told stories as humans. Mm-hmm. We've connected on narratives and we've connected on sharing narratives globally. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that, there was always the jester and then the other little comedic people that used to come in that used to disarm massive groups of people, because humor is probably the only thing that's an involuntary reaction to just words. Where else can you use words and just have an involuntary laughing reaction? Mm-hmm. It's built into us. Mm-hmm. Why is it built into us? Maybe it is really important. Mm-hmm. What else is there? Maybe fight or flight.
It's like hunting, gathering, and funny. It's the basic instinct humans have. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying there must be a reason that I say certain words and you have no choice but to laugh. Mm. What is that? Mm. There must be an evolutionary reason for that to happen. Yeah. And I'm very biased in the sense that I think I can't really be really good friends with someone who has no sense of humor, because that's such a boring person to me. What do you do? Are you just going to keep talking about things without any sort of what is it, like a sense of humor, jokiness, and not taking things so seriously? Then the person is very serious, and are very serious people fun for people to hang out with? I don't know. Yeah. So as
can you learn the trick to be funny? Can you learn the trick to be interactive? Can you learn, because probably not everybody is born with that confidence to be funny or be interactive or be into any room or any setting and create an impression?
Well, you said you started this 5 years ago. 5 years ago, were you as good as you are now?
No. Mm.
It's like anything. You don't have to be 200% at comedy, but you can go from zero to something. So yes, it's like anything. Some people are inherently just born to be amazing podcasters. I don't know, they're just very good at communication. Mm-hmm. But I guarantee if I watch your first podcast to now, there'll be a multifold difference in your skill set. You're asking good questions, you speak clearly, you've obviously thought about a lot of these things. So why can't someone just be funnier? Of course, inherently, some people are just quick-witted. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, but they are. But they're not the funniest people. Mm-hmm. But some people that work on that skill. Mm-hmm.
And then going back to the core inner idea of telling stories, and hence many indigenous cultures are oral cultures and oral stories, and stories passed on from one generation to another generation. And which means the inherent skill we all have is storytelling and connecting with people. How do you see that playing in this millennia that, have we lost the art of storytelling? Do we tell more stories, or do we tell stories enough and more occasions?
I don't fully understand. Are you saying that?
So the idea of telling more stories, because the cultures remember stories, and then stories last beyond human lives.
Yes.
And in this millennia, in this time and age, are we telling less stories, or are there less opportunities to tell stories?
Why do you think that?
I'm just asking you. Yeah.
No, but I'm wondering why do you think there's less stories? It's an interesting question. I'm asking you. Why do you think there would be less stories in our world?
I think it's your interview, but yes, in terms of the stories, I don't see many stories coming out. People being the narrators they are. I don't remember any of the last telepresenter or somebody on the telly or somebody on the social media. I would say, yes, I like the way he or she tells a narrative. You get impressed and you get, that's the skill I need to. I want that, or I'm observing those skills.
Well, the reason I ask that is because that's an interesting point, which I think a unique point. Where now we have a plethora of streaming services. We have unlimited content on social media. We have the ability to learn any skill now with AI within seconds, which is wild. So it would be hard to believe that any skill, sorry, that's a categorical statement, so probably not true, but it would be hard to believe that someone who wants to learn a skill is finding it difficult to learn the skill, and the skill is dropping. There is obviously skills that are dropping, like focus, definitely dropping, because so much stimulation, we can't focus as well. There's all these other offshoot impacts of the way we have fragmented information. But I feel like storytelling is probably at its peak, because everything is story. Like, how do you engage someone on social media? You have to tell a story about something, about yourself. Like, hey, I'm Dev, I'm part of whatever, I'm going to make something up here. I've moved from another part of Australia, and what I realized was there was systems that here were broken. So what I had to do was I had to learn on how I can build better systems through political discourse. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to try and implement that into policy, or something like that. That's a terrible story. But it's like, oh, I want to listen to this guy. If you don't tell me any of that story, I'm not listening to you, right? So social media is one example. It's all story. Netflix, Prime Video, anything you watch is all story. I would challenge that. I don't think story is less at all. If you're talking about the skill of people learning storytelling, it's accessible everywhere. It's accessible.
The other skill beyond one is funny, and the second facet is to have the confidence to interact with a whole plethora and the diversity of audience. And then sometimes you go to dodgy locations and then have a muck around with things. And so that's one is confidence. How do you? Yes, you love doing those things, but how do you? What was the trigger for you to do those things, and what's the trigger for you to say, yes, I want to interact with the whole, the whole spectrum?
Yes, I think. Well, I've always been very curious, and that's probably something, I don't know if that's trainable. Maybe you can train curiosity. I've always been a very curious person about other people's lives. Like, I could sit here in reverse, and in fact, I would prefer not talking about myself, but hearing about you. That's just, I enjoy that. And I don't know what it is, but I've always enjoyed learning about people's stories and what they do and why they have these little nuances and passions and blah, blah, blah. So that's just a baseline interest of mine, so I can be in most situations, and curiosity will carry me through uncomfortable situations, because I'm curious about people, things and ideas and all that kind of stuff, right? And then why go to, say, potential dangerous, dodgy or unknown places? The thing is, most of mainstream traditional media will only want to show you something. They'll only show you this is how the city looks, and let's ignore everyone else. This is how this looks, let's ignore everyone else. Everything is perfect and blah, blah, blah. Let's ignore all of that, right? I just try and go, well, let's just go anywhere, and let's talk and try and talk to the people that are generally underrepresented in media. And why? Because one, they are more open to a conversation. If you're walking and speaking to a professional, they're normally boring. They're normally in a rush. They normally don't want to talk to you. They're normally not entertaining. We are trying to be entertaining, right? It's having an entertaining conversation with a seriously busy professional, not great. And many people can do that. So I just kind of always see it as like, there's a lot of people in the world that we never speak to, but yet we walk past them and we go, that story would be quite interesting. So if I walk and I see, okay, that story would be interesting, that's where I need to go. Mm-hmm. As opposed to...
So you follow a story?
Yeah, like if I was to walk past a person, and many times in my life I've gone, I wonder why that person is homeless. I've always wondered that. Well, now I have the option of asking, right? And, well, I always wonder, why do people say Midland's so bloody dangerous? Well, now I can go there and check it out, right? I'm not saying Midland is, but like I'm just using that as an example. Oh, people say, West Sydney's got a culture of violence. Okay, well, let's see that, right? Which the media, the general traditional channels are not going to do that. They just don't. They just do it they just do whatever. And that's fine. They're what they are. But we've got to have a differentiation point. Otherwise, it's like everyone else. So, yeah, it's a bit of like, let's find the people that are the actual everyday people, not just the professionals of the world. And also do stuff that's different.
When you interact with people, random people, because you have to find common ground fairly very quickly. Mm-hmm. You can't be, talking for next. So within first 4 or 10 seconds, you have to say, I can interact with you, whether it's games or dancing or rap, whatever.
Yes.
And there is some level of experience you need to have to say that I think he or she might want to talk on this topic.
Yes.
How's that process looks like, before? So the process of you identifying a person and that first 10 seconds when you're walking towards them and the approach and then what's going post the approach.
Yes.
So can you tell me how the brain works? What are you thinking? You might be scared and whatever, but how do you think that process in your head operates on in your body?
Yeah, it is. You're right. It's within the first 5 to 10 seconds. I have to develop rapport very quickly. Maybe they'll give me leeway for another, 30 seconds max. If I haven't quickly disarmed that stranger, that conversation's gone. So it's now intuitive, but it's all been like manufactured carefully to try and figure out how I can disarm most people very quickly, very fast. And there's a few ways to do it. Now, I'm going to talk about doing it in my setting, which is in a lot of these environments where maybe the person could be dangerous. Maybe the person doesn't want to talk to you, okay? Actually, most people don't want to talk to you because it's resistance. You're coming out of nowhere. And also in an environment where you're in situations where you have to kind of like, navigate multiple people, right? Okay, so that's the pretext. How do you do it? You've got to build like a character, which is not, it's not essentially me, but it's a character of myself that most people would want to talk to. So let's take an example. If you were out at a bar or something in the evening, what kind of person would be very easy to just have a conversation with? Just think of a person, describe it to me. Like if someone came up to you.
Somebody who's, coming up after a game of footy and he's more happy and he had a few beers at the stadium and then he's coming out for another few rounds of drinks, so he's more happy and he's talking about the sports and he's wearing his the gear and you can, it's much easier to talk to.
There you go. Perfect. So that is the perfect type of character you have to build, is this aloof, potentially a little bit like, I'm going to use the word, not very smart, right? And someone who just seems like, they're just chirpy. They're talking about something and a bit weird, because a bit weird, a little bit like not too intellectual, not too serious, is a very easy person for most people to talk to. So what you have to then do is, okay, how do I create that? There's body language, there's tonality, there's eye contact, there's there's the way you stand. So people give me a lot of shit about this, but I do it purposely, is have a very bad posture, right? Like a hunched over posture. What that does is it brings your status down. My status needs to be as low as possible. If my status is confronting, chest out, speaking, it's threatening. But if I'm kind of like this guy's a bit weird. It's okay. Like it just disarms you a little bit. Tonality, deeper the tonality, harder. If I'm coming to you like this, bit confronting. Hey, dude. Like if I'm a little bit high, this guy's a bit silly. I'll say something. Tonality works a lot. Eye contact, very important. If eye contact is shifty at all, you're like, I'm on my guard. Whereas my eye contact's soft in one eye, either your left or right eye, but both eyes facing one eye, and just being a little bit disarming, nodding, relaxes you. So what you'll notice in most conversations, it's all about body language and not the words. Sorry, it's not body language, tone, all of that. It's not the words. I could come up to you and you can bleep this out and go, hey, fuckhead. And you got to smile because I've actually called you something insulting. But because the tonality is so weird.
It's funny.
Yeah, you'd be like, what? What do you say? But if I came out to you threateningly, you're on your guard. Your fists will be clenched and you're ready to fight me. So all I've done is just practice that. I'll watch back and go, that approach was really bad. I came across aggressive, I came at an angle. You can't approach someone from behind. I've had to do that sometimes because that's the only option I have. But you want to be visible as much as you can because more visibility, you're not threatened by some weirdo coming out from the side. It's a lot of stuff which seems haphazard, but we've tried to curate it to be as effective to disarm the general person as possible. And keep in mind, Dev, I'm not thinking about this. I'm not sitting here going, am I doing this? Am I like this? I'm not doing any of that. It's now
natural.
It's now intuitive. But that's 5,000 to 10,000 reps of getting to the point of where it's now intuitive.
In the whole process, what's the approach? Your approach is, that's the physical approach, is you are going around from the front, you have to be visible. But when you decide in your head, and that whole lot of, it's like the lion in the jungle picking up, one from the herd. So how do you decide? One is, yes, you can see that person might have a better story than the other person. That's what you're making a choice on. But what's that process of making a choice of the story and the person you want to approach? And that before that approach, the probably half a minute before the approach or a minute before the approach, what's that?
Yeah, you're a very thoughtful man. You ask good questions. These are things I've thought of. That's why you're bringing it back to what I used to think about a lot is, how do I select the person? Because a lot of the times you can only pull one string and there's potentially another 80 strings that you've lost. You have to be okay with it. And the thing is, sometimes I'll approach a certain person and think, yep, this seems to be if I was to put it into words, what I'm looking for is someone who is different. And I don't know what that means. Are they dressing different? Do they seem like they have something quirky about them? Do they have like an earring or nose ring? Are they walking around in a mall with big headphones where they're trying to now not listen to anyone else? Are they doing something, like do they have a weird thing they carry? Like something interesting, okay? That's kind of what I'm looking for. Do they have a quirkiness about them? Are they, I don't know how to describe that. Like, are they just moving in a different way? Like, are they being shifty? Like, is there something, right? Because a general stock standard person, and that's what I'm saying, I've been wrong so many times, sometimes approached, gone, I'm not going to use my usual way of selecting someone, I'm going to go with the complete opposite. And I've hit someone and they've been incredible. So you miss all those opportunities and I have to be okay with it. But I just try and go, well, what are my chances of making, because it is all about time versus output and what's of interest, because breaking down a professional takes a lot longer than breaking down someone who's okay to have a conversation. So there's no real hard and fast. It's a quick assessment of who looks interesting based on all those criteria. Are they different in some way? Because if they're not different, basically, I'm looking for someone who has a unique point of view on the world. And how do I select someone who has a unique point of view on the world? It's generally they're doing something unique or wearing something unique or have a different representation about themselves as opposed to the general person.
When you're interacting, sometimes people come in bunch. So 1-to-1 versus 1-to-3 or 4 in the queue.
Yeah, I hate
so
one
you
to,
have
yeah, I hate one to multiple.
Yeah,
It's very hard.
And then you have to do the rapport creation, all of that times 3 or times 4.
Yes.
And then in a very small circle. And then you have to keep everybody into the conversation for that first 5-10 seconds.
And the hardest part is 3 people want to walk away and I'm trying to talk to one, that one person will also walk away.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and how do you stage manage that? You can't stage manage it, but how do you manage that? Because you are watching in your vision here, this man is walking. You're talking to this guy, and then this guy is walking on the way. So you're getting jittery about why the hell he's leaving, what I've done wrong.
Yeah.
So how do you keep that confidence that you can see this man is walking away from, but he's part of the same group?
It's very hard, and I try and avoid multiple people for that one exact reason, is because now there's too many variables and this is just going to go off the rails. What the best way of doing that is, it's like in the world of the game, the people that, the pickup artists used to do is a similar thing, is if you're trying to approach a girl that you want to speak to, and there's, a bunch of other girls or maybe guys and in the group, you have to get them out as quickly as possible so you can have that interaction with that person. Unless you're using that other person to disarm this person further, meaning if your friend is here and I want to talk to you, but that friend seems disinterested, we can be in on a joke with the friend, saying, your friend's just never paying attention. What's wrong with your friend? Ha, 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 ha. Oh, and then you kind of quickly keep bringing them back. Then you use the other way. Go, man, you're so boring. How do you hang out with this? Like, you kind of always have to
link.
There's only a little bit of time, but you have to be in on the joke with one of them so they both stay interested. Best thing is, go, hey man, why don't you guys just back off for a second? I need one representative. And then hopefully they just go and hang out with themselves, or one person waits away from camera and we can have the conversation.
But sometimes what happens is, when you're talking to a group of people, the first one you pick up is not that interesting. And there's another one who just starts speaking, and they say, and then you have to change your focus there, or do you not do that?
No, you can. There's no hard and fast rule. If that person becomes more interesting, the first one takes the backseat. But you have to keep everyone interested, because as soon as one person is disinterested, they're both going to go. Or that person talking to you is going to go, my friend's now leaving, and you've lost it. It's hard. I don't know. A lot of the times I try and avoid more than 2 people, but sometimes you have to manage it. And there's no real expert way as opposed to keeping them all engaged.
Doing street interviews and versus doing comedy. So what's your style of comedy, and what are the parallels between these two styles of work? Because this is probably not a comedy. Street interviews, not always a comedy. Sometimes it's tragic when you meet some people. So what are the parallels between these two skills or arts you have?
It's very similar. Like my street comedy, when it's not a very heartfelt, wholesome conversation, is very similar to what you would see in a comedy show. It's always a very similar type of comedy, which is that, like generally the edgy, talking about social topics, or things that are a little bit silly, stupid, like in the semantics of something that no one would think about. Like we will talk about the color of a green lamp just because that's the weirdest thing to talk about. We'll go so deep in on it that it becomes funny. So it's always that sort of comedy. What I've changed with my stand-up is I started this whole street interview thing because I felt in stand-up I wasn't very confident with crowd work, which is breaking the fourth wall and talking to the crowd. So I started doing this to get better at crowd work. And now what's happened is 360, our shows are 100% crowd work, which there is essentially no scripted component to the show. So we try not to do anything scripted. Everything is audience interaction. So what it means is it merges the street interviews and the shows seamlessly. Meaning what you see on the streets is obviously a longer form, one-to-one interaction with editing and videography and a little bit of like setting up the stage. And the comedy show is that. We walk out on stage, there's your audience, unscripted. Make this funny. So it's similar.
Have you done corporate gigs, and do you do the same kind of audience interaction in the corporate environment?
No, I do, but not really. Corporate it becomes a little bit risky because sometimes the funniest joke I can't use most of the time because they're too worried about, here's the criteria. You got to do this, 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 this. And everyone's laughing, but then at the end you get that email, hey guys, you crossed the line. You said, I don't know, the word gay or something. And you're like, what's the point? This is not funny anymore. So, no, I try not to do much corporate comedy. Even when the inbound comes in and they're like, oh, we'll pay you, corporates pay very well, but it's not. It's not enjoyable.
So in terms of material, yes, you create a lot of material on the streets and then use that and then create or test your jokes or test your style. This is what your angle. And when you take that across Australia versus if you have to take that same show outside Australia, how will that play? What do you think? Have you tried that?
I think it'll be very similar. It's just Australians have a different sense of humor to an international audience. So, for example, we're going to be doing the street interview kind of stuff in Mumbai. Now, wonder when we do stand-up in Mumbai, is it going to be different? I think so. The Indian, I'm talking generally, but like the affluent, younger Indian audience has probably a very different sense of humor to Australians. So how do you navigate that? We don't know. I'll just have to see. We'll have to figure it out. Watch a bunch of stuff, watch a few comedians, and then try and be relatable. So yeah, it would have to change. We haven't done any international shows. We've only just done it in Australia because we know Australian comedy and it works fine across the country. But yeah, there is, in the end, you are trying to get the crowd to interact with you. Yeah. People like conversations with people. How do you make it funny? I guess there is nuances based on different parts of the world because they have different types of humor. Like, for example, I'll put it into specifics. If you go to UK, their level of sarcasm is way higher than probably anywhere in the world. They're like the founders of sarcastic comedy, right? And it's so dry and it's hilarious. But they're not going to get it if there isn't a level of sarcasm built in. They'll still get the jokes. The jokes are jokes, right? Australians are more, again, I may be being categorical, but it's more on we're okay with a bit of roasting, right? Let's be banter with each other, throw punches at each other, and that's great. That, in America, maybe not as what they enjoy. So, yeah, and different rooms play a different environment. So you could be doing comedy in one room and they're very politically left-leaning. Another room could be politically right-leaning. So again, are you going to alienate a bunch of people by saying something completely right-leaning when you're in a left-leaning environment and vice versa? So
my observation of comedians in Australia, there are many politically right-leaning comedians, but their comedy is left-leaning. They don't come out as right-leaning comedy. They keep more left-leaning in most of the rooms. It's safer.
It's safer to be left-leaning. Going right-leaning is more dangerous.
No, it's clear answer. Thank you.
It's true. If you stick in the middle, that's the safest. Just be in the middle. So you go to the bigger comedy rooms that are more popular, you'll hear the kind of content that you could hear in a Perth comedy room versus Sydney comedy room versus a Brisbane, all the same stuff. Dating, marriage, being, broke, and it's just in the middle. There's no opinions because it's safe. And you want to get rebooked, so you just sit in the middle. You don't make any, and if you try and go too far this way, then you'll notice right after you go too far that way, and back you're in the middle. So that's boring. It's so boring. But that's what you have to do if you want to get booked, right? So it's like playing any game. Like, those are the rules of the game. But if you can be outside of the confines of the comedy rooms, you can do whatever the hell you want. But left is always safer. If your opinions in comedy are pro-LGBT, whatever other main things there are, like pro-Palestine, for example, you take any sort of hard, all these things, it's a safer place to be. You say anything that's more on this side, if you're trying to be Donald Trump of comedy, you're gonna
you would be the homeless.
you'll get into more trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of your aspirations or inspirations for you, who have you observed from a stand-up comedy point of view or communication point of view across your growing years and as a young man who have inspired you to be a stand-up comedian?
Very good question. So I think when I was young, Russell Peters was one of, like, across the Indian community over the world, he was huge. So probably the entry point was him, and also Eddie Murphy, Delirious and Raw, two seminal, incredible comedy specials. Obviously not as politically correct now when you watch for a time there, but anyway, they were probably the ones that made me go, oh, I love this, whatever this is. I never thought you could do it. I just thought it was a thing that people do. It's not like a thing that every general person can start doing. But over time, I was obsessed watching stand-up. I never thought I'd ever do it. I just was obsessed. Anytime we'd go to watch something, I would go, let's just go watch a stand-up show. Could be the most random person in a bar of 12 people. I just love sitting there and watching them do it, because I'm like, all these people are doing is having a microphone and words, and they can entertain people for an hour. It is insane. It's like magic. It's better than magic. Magic still needs something. This is incredible. And it's like hypnotism. Everyone's in the same rhythm. I mean, when it sucks, everyone's like, I can't wait to get the hell out of this place. This is like a train wreck. And then comedians that I've loved thereafter are all the ones that say things that you're not supposed to say, because they're the funniest things to do, right? It's like your Louis C.K., Dave Chappelle, Andrew Schultz, the new sort of comedic talents that are like, not really new, Shane Gillis. So there's all of those kind of comedians. I think Andrew Schultz has been one that I've like obsessed over, the way he crowd work, how he engages an audience, how he writes his jokes, and how he can take topics and make them funny when they're really, really uncomfortable is masterful. And I love it. Because if you can laugh at a thing you're not supposed to, I think that's the magic.
Probably growing up, Eddie Murphy, Cat Williams, George Carlin.
Yes, yeah.
George Carlin was the classic.
Yes.
So
you're a comedy fan yourself?
Yeah. An observer.
You can always try it, Dev. Give it a go.
Yes. That's what we're doing now. That's what we're doing.
I'll take you out on an open mic. You can do a 5-minute set.
For sure. I can tell you stories. From there on, the comedy has evolved. The whole landscape has evolved, and there is this landscape of roasting has become more famous as well. This show is, I forgot the name of the show, but they have multiple comedians coming up.
Comedy Central roast.
Or Kill Tony.
Yeah. Oh, Kill Tony. Yes.
So it's a very new format, which the evolution is, you can see people who are coming on the stage are new, but being roasted by the old school, they know their stuff, they can going back and forth. So it's taking the Aussie banter, bantering with a random guy from the room, but that works very well. And then they book MCG and large what's that? Madison Square Garden, MSG. So the large rooms to run those shows. So how do you see that evolution happening here?
Well, I think it was very, very, when I was actively doing like comedy regularly, which was probably 5-6 times a week, most weeks, all the time, it was very left-leaning viewpoints became just prevalent. So you had to be careful. No, I mean, look, maybe I'm, whatever, like stretching maybe I felt it, right? That you had to be a little bit careful of not saying too much, stuff that was outside of that, unless you had a brilliant joke that you could. So you had to be very left-leaning because that's what everyone talked about. And then I think the political landscape in America changing from a very, left-leaning policies to now whatever is there. And I'm not commenting on the politics because I stay away from politics, but it's just allowed people to now kind of go away from that and say other things. Meaning you can say some crazy stuff and people go, it's a crazy person, let's carry on. Whereas it used to be like, you said crazy stuff, you're getting cancelled. Like it was kind of this thing is like, like a fascist world on the left where everyone had to be very
Follow the script.
be very woke or you're wrong, right? Which is kind of weird because woke people, I'm just saying a general stereotype of woke people, try and be progressive, but then they're also so not progressive when their views don't match.
They don't probably not believing the idea of the freedom of speech or,
Yeah, it's like either you believe what we say or you're wrong, which is the essence of fascism, right? Like this is this is the messaging, stay within these boundaries, or you are wrong and you're going to get like banished to whatever, to not having a job.
But that's us versus them kind of a conversation that you're only allowed in this arena if you are us, not them. If you are, and that's the old school idea of segregation then.
You mean they, them?
And that's the old school idea of segregation, that if you're us, then only you stay in this box or come to our gigs or our shows.
Yeah.
But if you are not in this box, you're them. And this is the new age segregation, probably.
Correct. So I think it's and whatever, like that's just how the world, because we were very, very far leaning and not giving rights to a lot of those communities. So I had to gear towards, helping the underprivileged. Like that had to happen, like, women's rights and even legalizing gay marriage took bloody forever for that to even take place, which is insane. And all of these, policies against, even racism and bringing that to like allowing people to just not say crazy shit to like different races and bringing in policies and moving the world to a place where everyone gets a little bit of equal treatment, support, and letting people be what they want to be. But then it got to the point where you're like strangling people that don't follow a certain way of speaking or saying things. Anyway, it's getting like too political, but basically what I'm saying is it just moved into a world now where it's like, we can say the things you want to say. There are obviously consequences to saying things you say, and we should know that. But people are more open to having freedom of speech to some extent, which is what it should be. In a democratic country like Australia or wherever, you should be allowed to just have a joke and say stuff. And comedy especially is like...
And then freedom of choice. You have a choice to go or not to go in the room.
Yeah. And then get annoyed.
Yeah, you have a choice to go or not to go. You don't have to be in a room or... but everybody should be allowed to say what they have to say.
Yeah, correct. So, yeah, it's good. I think there's a lot more interesting comedy that's coming out now as opposed to in those 4 or 5 year period.
Okay. The person who goes around and talks to randos or random people, how does that man evolve or change when you have kids in your life, when you become a father?
Yeah.
And how's that hat? Because a toddler will not do funny.
Toddlers are the funniest, man. What are you talking about? They're the funniest. They have no filter. They just say whatever it is.
When they're not saying anything. They're just little babies.
Yeah. That's when the wife...
How's that transition?
That's when the wife handles it. And then when they can talk, then they come to me. No, it changes you completely. I think having a girl changes you as a man, changes you more than anything has changed me. And it's hard to describe what it is, but it's like this weird feeling of, I've got a little girl that's like, I don't know why, it's going to sound strange, but like I need to protect her at all costs. I don't know what that is. Like it's a constant, like I have a boy as well, so I have a girl and a boy. Girl's older, boy's younger. Boy, I like, do WWE, smash him on the bed. Like we're like, whatever, fighting half the time. Whereas with her, I'm like always just so protective and being a guy's guy, it changes your mentality completely. But, I think kids just adds a level of responsibility you never realized you had. You think you've got all these responsibilities. Then you have kids who are obviously just dependents at all times. I don't know, builds a bit of character in a person. So people that have never had kids, I can see they're like not as, I don't know, there's like a level of callous that you have to just have this responsibility, makes you stronger because it's so annoying at times. So you've got to like deal with the annoyance and there's always a responsibility. So I don't know, builds a level of character. And also makes you feel like there's a family. Like when you're married, it's just two people hanging out in a house, then you have kids and it feels like a family. So yeah, it's a lot of differences.
In terms of the evolution on the mindset, the safety and security of a family when you are in a structure, what kind of decisions do you make on a regular basis from a comedy point of view, or are also linked to that security structure?
It's a question that more people ask me than anything else, is like, why do you put yourself in these situations when you've got a family? And what people, I think there have been situations which are a little bit dangerous, but to be honest, 99.9% of them are not dangerous. They may look dangerous. Like walking up to Scientology and knocking on the door. People go, oh, that's dangerous. What's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. Like, what are they going to do? Punch me in the face? I'll walk off. Like, it's fine. But, there have been a few situations where, someone who could be under the influence of something can snap very quickly. So you just have to know. But I've been in those situations my whole life. I've had a friend circle, professionals to comedians who live in a mechanic shop, to people that have had addictions to substances their whole life. Always been in those situations. And nothing is really different. This is now people that have never seen those parts of the world go, oh, that must be dangerous. But I don't know, I feel like the more dangerous people are the people in a suit. It's not, I'm not talking about you, Dev, but you might be, I don't know you that well. But everyone else is actually not that dangerous. They wear their heart on their sleeve, and they're genuine, I don't know, empathetic people. They just want to they live a good life. They're not worried about, backstabbing this person to get into their hierarchical position, saying one thing, doing another, like all of that. They're just themselves. So, yeah, I mean, there are situations I have to be careful of, because as your exposure grows and more people know about you, more weirdos come out of the woodwork. They try and message my wife, or they're trying to get something, and they kind of hover around your personal spaces. So you have to be protective of giving out your number, protective of your address, protective of where you are. So I don't post ever really where I mean, I do, but it's not done in too personal an environment to compromise, I don't know. There's weirdos that get obsessed with you on the internet. They can just come out and do strange things. So that's what you have to be careful of. I'm not worried about myself. I know how to defend myself in most situations.
You can throw a punch.
Yeah, or run.
Or run.
Yeah, I can run pretty fast.
Can I go back in your younger, when you were in school and you were interacting with a variety of your friends and colleagues, but the initial hump of recent migrants to being part of the herd, what was the hump like? That the bridge you have to cross, and the conversation you had to have, the talent you have to show, or how was that period for you?
With other people at school, you're asking? Yeah. Same thing I've mentioned previously. It was just to find ways to disarm them, because no fault of their own. They've never seen a Sikh person back then. This is I'm talking, 30 years ago or something. They're never seen someone like this. And many times I used to get confused as a girl. They're like, why is this person in a guy's toilet? Shouldn't he be in the girl's toilet? So I never people go, oh, it's so racist, but it's not. Everyone just puts this label on something, where I honestly never felt racism in my life. It was just, people are not familiar with the culture. They're like, why are you wearing a turban? Why do you grow out your hair? They don't know these things. So, you just gotta joke about it. It's fine. Jokes always disarm people. Just joke about it, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't have a joke at the moment, but you've got to have jokes with people, joke to them so they know that you can actually say something about them, so you kind of can build that bridge. So the bridge is for me, has always been humor. Humor is the best weapon to alleviate tension. And you'll notice in a lot of conversations and interviews, when things get tense, and at that moment is where danger can happen, is where you've either put someone on the spot, they're feeling very uncomfortable, and and what could be the avenues they take. They might now here start to get violent, or they avoid the conversation, or whatever. But the violence is what you're trying to protect. And at that moment, a joke breaks the ice and you're back in. So it's always the bridge.
Do you think AI will take your job as a stand-up comedian?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
You can have an AI persona playing up, and then you give prompts that do. So I think you can have a bit more guardrails in an AI comedian. You can say that you can't joke this and you can joke these.
Yeah, but who would want to watch that? It sounds terrible. It's terrible. Like, you could just watch that at home. That's not enjoyable.
No.
So AI might help people write jokes that can't write jokes. They could use prompts, come up with funny things. And look, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see the future. But I think as we move forward, these personal interactions will be so much more meaningful.
Yeah.
Because they already are. Like, we now have so many options at our disposal sitting in our bedroom. We can watch $1 billion production by turning on a TV, and Netflix gives you whatever. It's cost $1 bazillion to make, which you used to have to go to the cinema, buy a ticket, travel, all that stuff. But yet you start to realize what's more valuable is people will spend exorbitant amounts of money, like you were mentioning off camera, to have events, to be in person with people. Because the in-personal relationships are now even rarer than they were before, so they're more valuable. So what happens with AI? Yes, AI might do a whole bunch of things for everyone, but what people will start to value is personal. Has this person created? Now, I don't know if you plug stuff in your ear and AI can give you prompts. Are you still coming up with the information yourself? Like here, I've had to come up with everything myself. I don't have AI telling me what to do. But I imagine in the future, AI can help you. You might have some earpiece or if Elon gets on with a chip in your head. So who knows? But that's a world we'll have to deal with. I feel bad for the kids. They're going to have a weird world.
What's the next round of, or next iteration of Sikkant is? And what's the next evolution you're looking for beyond street interviews and crowd work comedy? What's the next round of evolution?
More of that. We're just going to get better and better at it, because that is the thing I think we have a rare skill set of doing. There's not many people, and it's not just me. It's my producer and partner in this is also a stand-up comedian. He's his name's Tim. He does the camera work. He's also the producer, and he has a background in film and arts, and he's incredible. He's a genius. He comes up with the most amazing ideas, which I couldn't do myself, right? I just have to deliver it, and it looks like I do everything, but he does most of everything. He plans everything. I just go there and do it. But where we see this going in the future is more of the show-based concepts. So as opposed to more of the shorter stuff, which people have seen from us. And even in the shorter platforms like TikTok, Instagram, our content is on the much longer side. It goes 5 to 7 minutes, whereas people are building 30 to 40 seconds. So it's already quite long. But now it's more YouTube. How do you build a series? How do you do this in episodic show sort of format? And still using the street interviews, because not many people are able to get into those situations, to go and speak to someone about a certain topic, which could be just completely stupid or could be very serious. So how do we make that better? It's the long form narratives. How do we come up with great themes that we can then use our skill set to build a story around it, and just do that better and better and better, not change, because what we're doing is great, and I don't think many people can do it.
If you have to distill the whole art of speaking, presenting, connecting with audience, and showcasing that, we are at same level, or we can talk to each other, we can communicate, what are the 4 or 5 things? How do you define that? What are the skills you need to have inertly to deliver on the outside to the world?
That's a tough one to summarize into 4 points, but let me try. I think there is a difference between, so I'm assuming this is a person has no pretext on you, right? which is probably the hardest baseline to achieve this goal. You're trying to come from no impression to making a great impression as quickly as possible. That's what we're trying to achieve. So there's two facets to that. There's a visual impression, and then there's a vocal impression. Okay? And again, I'm just trying to make it as simple as possible, because there's obviously, you're trying to either deliver a message for some sort of purpose or whatever, but I'm just trying to keep it simple of, okay, we're trying to make the best impression in whatever the hell we're doing. So for someone to use those models now is to go, okay, how can I make the best visual impression? Like, I see you and I'm like, professional, likely to be doing well, likely to probably gear on the serious side, okay? Also someone who has a kind of a command of some sort of professional sphere in his life. And all that's come from a visual impression. You haven't said a single word. How have you done that? Wearing a very professional suit, dressing very professionally, very well put together, lots of like clips and stuff, so it gives me a professional thing. So you've done that from a visual impression. Part of visual impression is body language. You normally sit well with your shoulders back, you're poised, you're not fidgeting a lot, you're not moving your hands a lot. I move my hands a lot because we're presenting different things here. So you can nail the visual impression pretty easily, okay? It comes down to body language, comes down to how you dress, come down to how you sit and look, what sort of distractions you're creating to your message. Pretty easy. Most people know that. Now, the vocal impression is more difficult. Why is it more difficult? Because no one ever learns what they are as a first vocal impression. I start talking, or you start talking, what does the person get? What does the person judge or perceive you immediately? No one knows, right? So just record yourself, or go to your wife or your friend or your whatever, like partner, business partner, whatever, just say, hey, if you were to get it, actually don't do it someone who knows you, go to a random and say, hey, I'm just going to talk to you for a minute. What is the impression you get? They'll go, monotonous, not engaging, flat, unclear. They'll give you all those words. So you go, okay, I know where I am. Now, more people know how to get to where you need to go. All right, I need to vary my tonality. I need to slow down my rate of speech because I talk so fast that no one can ever understand what I'm saying, and I'm saying it so quickly that, oh my God, I've just said all these things, but they've switched off. I need to vary my speech. I need to, I don't know, there's so many other factors. I need to highlight the words I say, so I need to be more articulate. So all I'm trying to say is there's just two facets, visual, vocal. Vocal has so many layers. Visual probably has so many layers, but visual seems to be easier for most people. You nail both of those, and even if you do a 10% improvement, it's like a wholesale change in a person. And then obviously there's the advanced layers of humor and relatability, write things that are relatable to an audience and know what your outcome is, and you can build all of that. But now you're visual, now you're vocal, and you can work well in most environments.
Lovely.
Or be aware of it. Most people are not aware of what they sound like. Some people, when they look at someone, they have like a weird thing that they do with their face. They just do a thing. But they're not even aware of it. So like if I just do this like I'm just talking to you like this, you're already like, man, this guy's strange. Whereas if they were aware of it, they could just eliminate that and automatically you're that much better. So hope that helps.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today, and thanks for this conversation.
Well, thank you for having me. It was fun. You asked some really good questions. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.